Hello, my name is David Cooke and I work at the James Hutton Institute up in Dundee, and I'd like to give you a bit of an update on the late blight population from 2015. We've been studying the population over the course of the season, as in previous years where the Scouts have sent us many samples from crops. 2015 was an unusual year in that we didn't have an awful lot of samples. Blight was not very active in your crops. Nonetheless, we received a number of samples and have processed those, and the main conclusions really from that are the diversity has not changed too dramatically. The population is still dominated by genotype 13 and the 6A1, and however this year we do have more of the miscellaneous types. Those are novel types of blight which we presume appear from the mating of the two different A1 and A2 strains, producing oospores which survive in the soil and then spread through to generate novel types of blight. So we've seen a slight increase in that. When we look at the breakdown of where that's actually occurred, we find that predominantly the new types of blight have been appearing in Scotland, and specifically in northern Aberdeenshire and the Moray coast, whereas across the rest of the country it's really the two aggressive lineages, the 6A1 and the 13A2. I'd also like to update you briefly on the Smith period and the updating on the Smith period that we've been doing at the James Hutton Institute. Again, that's funded by AHDB Potatoes, and we have a PhD student, Siobhan Dancy, who's working on that project, alongside Pete Skelsey and Alison Lees. In that project, we've been examining the 2,000 late blight outbreaks that have been reported through the Fight Against Blight campaign, comparing that to the Met Office provided Smith period data. So Siobhan has been compiling all that data, and we're now examining cases where a blight outbreak was reported, but there was no associated Smith periods linked to that, and really understanding the details of where the Smith period criteria were not working, whether it's humidity or temperature, to examine that in more detail. And the second part of that project that Siobhan is doing is looking at generating new biological information based on a range of temperature criteria, a range of humidity criteria, 70, 80, 90% humidity, and the duration of each of those sets of criteria. She has accumulated an awful lot of data and is processing that at the moment to generate a new updated Smith period criteria. In summary, I think the key points coming out from the work from the last year are that late blight primary inoculum is continually coming from your neighbouring fields. So volunteer potatoes and outgrade piles are really critical to keep an eye on these and manage these, particularly in this year because we've had a very warm winter so far. So the potatoes are continuing to grow in many parts of the country, and the blight inoculum will be developing on those potatoes. Secondly, we have the risks of oospores. Although we have found in some cases these oospore-borne outbreaks, we're not seeing those populations really developing tremendously. We're not finding those lineages in successive years or spreading within the season in different crops in that area. So the risks appear to be relatively low for those new types of blight compared to the clonal lineages, which are very aggressive. And lastly, the work on the Smith periods. As I've just said, we're really looking at updating the criteria and generating that data. What we want to do is produce a very robust set of criteria so you can move forward with confidence with a newly improved Smith period.